Buckle up, besties. We're talking about my favorite reads of 2025. One of the best parts of my reading journey this year was that I discovered the Fae Human series by Sarah Wallace and S.O. Callahan. This is like Bridgerton meets gay, meets inclusivity, meets BIPOC, meets magic system. It is so cozy, it is so sweet. They always end happily ever after, and they're just very low stakes. They're character driven, but the plot is still there and essential, but it really just feels like a warm hug. In October, I was having a really bad mental health time, and I found myself rereading the first book in the series, Brief Spells and Bridegrooms, because it feels like a warm balm to the soul. It feels like a hug. And if you feel like you need an escape from the world, escape from society into one that is much better, this is a really great place to start. And I absolutely love these books. I love these series. And these are authors who are also really good people. So if you want to support not just the art, but the artist, this is a great place to start. This next book is a little bit of a surprise to me because when I started reading it, I truly did not enjoy it that much. I was going to rate it maybe a 3 stars, but by the time it ended, it was a 5-star for me. And I think it's because the ending is one of the best endings I've ever read in a book, mostly because it physically altered my brain chemistry. Like, I could feel myself changing as I read the last 30% of this book. What they did with one of the side characters just was so beautiful and well done. I'm big on villain arcs, and I think that this had a really good side plot villain arc that was one of the best I've ever read, and truly I could not stop talking about the ending of this book. So like, this much of the book I was kind of like, this is okay, it's, you know, kind of repetitive, kind of predictable, but the last 30% of the book was so mind-bogglingly good and changed my brain chemistry that it's one of the best books I read this year because I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I recommended it to like everyone I knew. It is a queer, what would this even be categorized as? It's like a queer fiction, fantasy, romance book. Now there are some books that are worth the hype that they got. I mean, there are probably many books that are worth the hype they got, but one of the books that I was recommended over and over again this year and ended up falling madly in love with was Babel. Babel was a hard read. I would say it effectively ruined my life, but it was also one of the most well-written books I've ever read, and I still continually thought about it after. Kind of one of the ways I gauge if a book is really good or if it's a book I don't really want to read again is if I'm consistently talking about it after I've read it, if I read it really, really fast, and if I'm recommending it to everyone I know. And Babel was one of those books. Even though it was a really hard to digest read, it was so important, and it was one of the best, the most well-written books I've read, and that's one of the reasons why I want to say it's one of the best books of my year, because I have not read a book that has been that well written ever since. Another series that was worth the hype, you guys, it was really worth the hype, is the Heated Rivalry series. I was able to snag 3 of the books just at my local bookstore. I understand that these books are ridiculously hyped right now, but I'm not even going to lie to you, they are worth the hype. It is so important to read stories of queer joy and even queer struggle that ends happily, and these books do such a good job with that. If you've seen the Crave show, if you've seen Heated Rivalry, the TV show, you would love the books. They're very, very similar. Watching the show is actually what got me into the books, because I watched episode 3 with Kip and Scott and I needed more, and so I read Game Changers, and it just was one of the best books I read all year. I read it in like a day and a half. I couldn't stop consuming it, and I want to read the rest of the books, but I promised myself that I would go touch some grass first, so that's what I've been doing. Those are my personal favorite books that I read in 2025 that had me still thinking about them months and months and months after I consumed them. I'm super excited for 2026. I'd love to hear your recommendations. Let me know your thoughts, and I'm so excited for this 2026 reading journey.